can set that batch of reports to auto send out on a recurring basis. So make that every week, every month, every whatever. So you can set it on the 15th of every month to give you time to get all your books reconciled, completed, and etc. Piece of cake. Now your frustration on getting reports sent out to your clients is done. You don't have to worry about it. You can set that and forget it.
Welcome to the AI in Accounting podcast. Now, here's your host, Joshua Feinberg of Vic.ai.
So I am here with Caleb Jenkins from RLJ Financial, an accounting firm based in Northern California. Thanks so much for agreeing to come on the podcast with me today, Caleb.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Josh.
So where I usually like to start first in these interviews is to have our viewers, have our listeners understand kind of how you got to where you are, how RLJ Financial is built, how you see yourself fitting into the broader industry, and what was your journey that took you to your place in your firm.
Mm-hmm. So just a quick recap would be I started here in 2009. My dad started the firm back in 1986. And so I grew up in this space. His office for the first 10 years of my life was a separate office at our home location. So I grew up in it. And so I was out in the office all the time helping shred and file papers and do various things my younger years of life. And so it was a natural fit for me. So I was interested in computers, and I started tracking my own stuff on QuickBooks from a fairly early age, around 8 or 9. And so I just did that out of curiosity to keep track of everything for my personal records. And then had a number of different self-employed projects that I did. So baked cookies for my dad's company and et cetera during tax season. And I did mowed lawns for people, and I had a cherry stand out at a busy road down from where we live, and et cetera. So I tracked all that inside of QuickBooks too. And then got started here, like I said, in 2000, or officially in early 2009. And it got started off primarily just in QuickBooks. So in that time frame was primarily, if not completely, QuickBooks Desktop. And so we got really familiar with QuickBooks Desktop, did a little bit of education training on that, but primarily basically just dug in and learned it. And I got fairly proficient at it, I would say, and fairly quick at it, but then started answering people's questions, clients' questions as they came. If I didn't know the answer, would research it, find out the answer, call QuickBooks support, get the solution, whatever, and then replicate that. So just learned a lot through that, got fairly advanced inside of QuickBooks Desktop, but then around 2012 timeframe, 2012, 2013 or something, got a couple clients that had QuickBooks Online already. So started to get familiar with that, and I started learning that. Originally in the early days, I liked the concept of QuickBooks Online a lot, but I wasn't a huge fan of the actual product. But around the time frame of they called it Harmony project, which redesigned the whole layout and interface of QuickBooks Online, got really familiar and loved the new concept of QuickBooks Online, and we started bringing a lot of clients on. We've got a good chunk of our client base today is inside of QuickBooks Online. Our firm here, we are a fully, we are full outsourced accounting firm. So we do taxes for our small business clients and the outsourced accounting, payroll, and then we'll also do wealth management. So all of that, we primarily focus on the agricultural clients in the area. So that'd be a lot of walnut farmers and a lot of almond farmers. or almond as other people call them. And then we would have a lot of healthcare professionals, so small family physicians and dentists and specialists in the area. We also do a lot of work just throughout the U.S. So we've got probably about 60% of our 60 to 65% of our clientele is local, and then about 35% is throughout the U.S. So we got probably clients in about 25 different states that we file different state income tax returns for. At least that's how I would measure it. So, and so we've got a fairly good representation throughout the U.S. That's just a little bit about what our firm does. And what I do today is I do a lot of our just managing, overseeing what we're doing from they are outsourced accounting. So I got a couple people that I would oversee on what we're doing there. And then I also do a lot of just app research, seeing what's out there. I work with a number of different apps on helping them with their solution. And then I do a lot in the tax space. So researching tax solutions, tax strategies to help our small business clients, and then just business consulting, helping our small business clients succeed. And so that's really at a surface level what I would say my job role is. There's a lot of smaller details in the middle of all of that, but that's at least what I would say publicly is my primary roles, I would say.
So it sounds like there's 11 years of industry experience, and there's possibly another 10 or 11 years of pre-industry experience of getting to grow up in this environment.
Oh yeah, so I'm uniquely I would say benefited from that. Yes.
My dad was only in public accounting for a couple of years. He spent most of his career as a controller in retail and mail order companies. But because of that, when I had a paper route as a kid, I was probably the only one in town who had an accounts receivable subledger tying out to cash. But it was valuable to learn.
Yep.
All good life lessons. So what I wanted to talk with you primarily about today is your favorite tips for getting more value out of QuickBooks Online. And the first place I want to start is to get your take for what you would tell somebody who's brand new to QBO, either somebody that you've recently hired on your team that's never worked with QBO before, or someone, I know you go to a lot of conferences, someone that you met at a conference that's curious to get your advice on how to hit the ground running real quick.
Yep. So number one feature to get the most bang out of your buck is to use bank feeds inside of QuickBooks Online. So it's astonishing hearing from QuickBooks how few companies actually use the bank feeds. And that is a huge feature that can eliminate and automate a good chunk of your data workflow. So all of your banking transactions, your credit card transactions, et cetera, we can bring in the date, the amount, the vendor name, and et cetera, and we can create rules to automate some of the front side of the transaction. That's, I would say, the number one feature to eliminate the manual entry and to automate or semi-automate the reconciliation process at the end of the month, and et cetera. Second thing that I would say is start looking at apps.com, so the QuickBooks App Store, and take a look at some of the apps. Implement some, say, receipt apps, or implement a accounts receivable app or accounts payable app, or whatever the area of frustration is for you. Start there and implement that, but then start thinking broader, create a strategy around a couple different apps that really fit your workflow and fit what you're trying to accomplish. And as a small business owner, what you're trying to do, as an accounting firm, what you're trying to do with your clients. For accounting firms, what I also recommend is to create your consolidated stack of your apps that you're working with. You're not doing a different app for every single client. So for the expense solution, whatever, I could use Expensify on some clients. I could use Receipt Bank on some clients. I could use uh, auto entry on some clients. I could use Vic.ai on some clients. I could use it on a lot of different solutions. Pick the solution that best fits the majority of your clients and go with that. So for you and your whole team, you only need to stay up to date with the changes in the one solution, and pick, if you're a team of people in an accounting firm, pick a person to stay up to date with what the changes are. Because there are changes that happen, and eventually you may want to switch between one solution and the next solution. And so pick somebody that loves to research, so that they can stay up to date with the broader scope of what's happening out there, and then they can implement accordingly and make suggestions to switch between solutions. That's probably what I would say is the second thing. So again, backtracking, bank feeds is first. The second thing is picking an app that fits your workflow, and then maybe third is picking your suite of apps. Fourth thing is create some automation in your reporting. So within QuickBooks Online, very simple feature is just go into your reports, customize them, save your customizations, put it into a group of reports, and then click the edit on the reports and set that batch of reports to auto send out on a recurring basis. So make that every week, every month, every whatever. So you can set it on the 15th of every month to give you time to get all your books reconciled, completed, and etc. Piece of cake. Now your frustration on getting reports sent out to your clients is done. You don't have to worry about it. You can set that and forget it. For a company owner, that's really cool too, because they can set your accounts receivable reports or your accounts payable reports to be in their inbox every morning or every Monday morning or whatever, so that they know what they need to work on without ever having to open up QuickBooks. So I would say those are some of the basic things within QuickBooks that I would say total time savers and huge wins on using QuickBooks Online. Again, basic, but they save a ton of time.
So bank feeds and rules are driving automation, eliminating manual entry, spend a fair amount of time on a recurring basis in the apps directory, researching new apps, testing new apps, and put somebody in your practice in charge of owning that position, visiting on a regular basis. Think about your overall suite of apps that you're going to use to standardize, and then set up your reports so they're sent out automatically.
Yep.
Cool. Other end of the spectrum, what do you tell a power user? And when you go to a lot of conferences, you probably meet a fair amount of people like yourself with 5-10 years of experience using QBO. And what are some of the little hidden gems that you may not get to for years?
So, I mean, probably one of the biggest things that people do wrong inside of QuickBooks Online with bank feeds is they add their transactions that are transfers between bank accounts, or what QuickBooks just assumes that is a transfer. And so it goes in as a transfer option, and then it goes to uncategorized asset, or it goes to somewhere else. And then somebody goes in and they try to fix that to put it to what it should be. Well, the problem with that is that goes back and unreconciles both sides of the transaction. And then you're looking at your reconciliation, you're saying, well, what's wrong? Because that's not there. Or it says that you deleted the transaction, but it's already in your books back because you went back to your bank feed and re-added it. All you need to do is just go to your register on that account, and you can then mark that transaction as reconciled again. And that eliminates that reconciliation discrepancy, and takes a couple seconds. So you got to do a filter for inside the register to filter it for that specific amount. And then you've shrunk your whole register down to the transactions that meet that qualification. And then you can mark it as reconciled, and that goes and updates a history of the account. So very powerful way to eliminate a lot of the manual data, or I mean, the problems on that. The register is probably one of the things that people converting from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online, it's not maybe as readily accessible on the front homepage per se. So a lot of people wonder where it's at, but it's a gem compared to QuickBooks Desktop. So all the sorting capabilities, the filtering capabilities, the searching capabilities, you can't do any of that inside of QuickBooks Desktop. The other thing is just throughout QuickBooks Online, most everything's built on tables. So the same thing would be like on your customer list, your vendor list, your transaction list. All of that you can sort by any of the header items, or you can filter and search within the filter to find what you're looking for. To other power users, probably one thing that I've loved historically, this has been replaced or fixed and updated recently with the battery classify. So within that accountant tools for the power users, you've got a whole list of tools like the battery classify and etc. But one of the things for like small business owners or users, they can do that too, which can be dangerous, but it can be very helpful for them as well. Is go to the expenses tab on your sidebar and go to the transactions tab, and there's a list of all your expense transactions there. You can go filter that, so we can look at, say, fuel and oil at expense category, and we can see all the expenses in that. We can sort by the vendor for last year or this year or last month or whatever. And we can see in there that there's a Walmart transaction. Well, there shouldn't be a Walmart transaction categorized to fuel and oil. So you can select all your Walmart transactions that are coded to fuel and oil, and then do a battery classify and change the category to be office supplies or whatever it should have been. And so really simple way to review your books, to clean up what was miscategorized. And you can do that simply by filtering to a specific filter group category, expense category or something, sorting by your vendor or sorting by your memo, or you can also use that to see whether or not you have receipts on your transactions. So if you've got a list of all of your transactions, you can sort by your receipt, and then you can see here's a list of the 70 transactions we do not have receipts on. Okay. Now we need to go look to find or see if we can find where those receipts are from or what's missing, because those receipts are important for an IRS audit. So we now have the ability to tell our clients, or a client can look at this themselves and see what's missing and what they need to do, maybe what they need to shore up on for the future, because maybe you can't go back and find those old receipts, but now you know, maybe we need to be looking for this stuff in the future. So great way to eliminate that. Another thing is just to eliminate our duplicated transactions. A lot of people wonder what's the purpose of a reconciliation inside of QuickBooks Online when we've got our bank feed coming in. Reconciliation is very important. It's just a manual human verification that everything is accurate, especially when you've got third-party apps feeding data into QuickBooks. You've got your bank feed coming into QuickBooks, and you maybe have somebody manual entering stuff into QuickBooks. Hopefully not, but maybe you do. You got 3 data sources coming into your general ledger inside of QuickBooks. You might have duplicated transactions. You might have missing transactions. Hopefully not when you got your bank feed connected. Normally not, unless it disconnected, which can happen, unfortunately. And so all of those can be things that can require a manual verification. Normally it takes a couple seconds, but if there is something that's uncleared, go target those transactions and figure out why. You can also do that though before you ever get to your reconciliation, going back to that register. The register, again, why it's important, you can filter it for the transactions that have no status. those transactions have no status are generally transactions that are fed into QuickBooks via third-party apps, or transactions that are manually entered that never came through the bank feed. And so if those are old transactions, again, probably they're duplicated, or maybe they're brand new and they haven't came through the bank feed yet. That's fine. But that gives us a list of transactions we need to investigate. So just a couple things there. I don't know, that those are probably some basic things. The other things are just within the reports, have at it. Again, customize. You can customize. One of the things that I see a lot of people forget or don't realize, especially my clients, is segment your reports by display the columns by month, or display it by quarter or something, so you can see a long running history over year, side by side, or whatever. It gives you a really powerful way to spot a story trend line. So if you see something going up or down, it's not a chart per se, but it's numbers. So you can see those numbers increase or decrease, and really powerful way to spot problems, spot errors, or see trend lines of what's happening for your company. So display it by columns, by month, by year, something. Then you can go in and customize your report as well, and you can filter it for a specific smaller subset of data, like your class or your location or whatever other items you're adding in your data entry. You can segment your database to see a smaller subset of your data. Then change your, just tiny little thing, but change your header to display that name for that specific segment that you're displaying, and then save that customization. No need to go redo that every time. Save it so that you eliminate the creation of that report the second time. I don't know, those would be some of the basic things that immediately come to my mind. There's probably a ton more, but just some basic stuff that can save you time, save you ability to create things and do things powerfully going forward.
Yeah, I mean, what I picked up on, it sounds like there's just a tremendous amount that you can do by getting comfortable with using filtering and sorting in a lot of different ways for looking at trends and looking at anomalies. What was really interesting too is earlier on you mentioned the value of paying attention to third-party apps. And then also, like, okay, the flip side with the third-party apps is now we have a lot of different sources, so we got to be really careful looking for duplicates. That makes a lot of sense. And then what resonated with me also was you made sure to drive home the importance of the register when people are coming over from desktop to online. So this is all fabulous, fabulous stuff. One more quick thing I want to hit on today is in a tech company, a software company, it's almost always a product manager. They talk to the customers, they figure out what the big problems are, what to do next. You've been in like an advisory role, beta tester kind of role with a lot of different test companies. If you think about your business, so if you think about RLJ Financial and where things are headed in the next 5 years, what's the biggest opportunity that you see for a firm like yours to be able to better help their clients?
Probably the biggest thing is making sure that we are implementing automation tools to eliminate our manual data entry, to make sure that it is up to date, it is recurring and real time, and then shifting into, and I know this is what everybody is saying, but it's true, is shifting into an advisory role with our clients, and that's specifically in areas of helping them determine where they're wanting to go and how they're going to get there, and being the Sherpa, if you want to call it that, to help them guide them to their end goal. And we have the data behind us. We know how to get there. And in a lot of cases, we just need to get to that point where we're freed from that back office perspective and get into the boardroom, as people call it, and get into that area of actually working with them on the area that matters for them, and helping them get to that point. A lot of times accountants and bookkeepers are just seen as just getting the compliance things completed. And the value for us and our area is helping them in the future, even like today. So things that have happened in the last, or in 2020 here, is with COVID-19, there's a lot of changes that are happening. There's a lot of tax changes. There's a lot of business changes. We've got to be on the front side of helping them with cash flow planning. We've got to be on the front side helping them with determining how to survive and how to thrive in the midst of changing solution or changing economics of the et cetera. And so there's a lot there that, changing your business model, changing your business plan. Some businesses are thriving in the midst of something like this. So how do we help our business clients thrive in the midst of a general market that is crashing? That's all the things that we have to do.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. It's the advisory role, being able to get out of spending all your time on data processing and data coding, data extraction, being able to elevate to provide meaningful advice and insight to your clients' businesses.
Yeah,
sounds like where it's all headed.
Now, the one thing on that I would say that maybe I'm a little bit unique on this, but is it helps a ton to know that data entry side, and it helps a ton to know the actual nuts and bolts side, so that when you're asked a question, you can give the specific answer, but you don't have to dwell on that specific answer. You can then bring it back to the higher level area. So if you have no idea about what's being asked, you probably don't have any role or being there in the boardroom answering or helping coach them. So start with an experience from the ground up and get involved there, and then go forward and have both sides where you can intelligently advise them both on technology solutions, business solutions, and planning for the future.
Technology, business, and planning future.
Yep.
Like excellent. Well thought out way to think through where everyone should be headed in the next 3 to 5 years. Caleb, what's the best way for someone to learn more about your firm, learn more about you, connect with you?
So our firm, I would say our website, so www.rljfinancial.com. For getting a hold of me or finding out about me, connect with me on Twitter. My handle is Caleb L. Jenkins. Probably the best way to get a hold of me and follow me. You can also follow me or connect with me on LinkedIn. Good way to connect with me there. I'm on Facebook too, so feel free to reach out to me there. But those ways are probably the best ways. You can email me, but if you want to just learn about me, connect with me, follow me on social media, and that's a great way to learn, because I do try to share things and try to be a resource to help others. So I'm all about trying to help everybody thrive. This isn't just about me.
Education builds trust. Huge believer in all of that. But this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your 11 plus years of experience in accounting and QuickBooks, going back to using it as a kid, tracking your businesses that inspired you to get to where you are today. This has been tremendously valuable, and I know a lot of people will learn a ton from watching this.
Cool. Yeah, well, it's been great to do this with you. So thanks for inviting me to be on here today.
And thanks for helping us as well. It's been terrific. I wish you great success in your practice and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the AI in Accounting podcast. To subscribe and leave a review, check us out at blog.vic.ai or wherever you like to consume podcast episodes, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube.